What is up, guys? OTO Podcast is back for episode 10. I'm with my co-host, Bannon Crowley from Next Man Up MMA. And we are obviously big fight just happened. UFC 317. Huge card, maybe one of the best of the year. We got Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira as the main event. You all know what happened there. Very sad, many would say. But we'll start off with that fight. I'm not sure what you had, but I had Ilia by KO whenever he wants. And then you had similar, I assume?
Yeah, I thought Ilya was going to come in here and knock him out, and that, that's exactly what he did. So I'm not really surprised by this at all. Um, Throughout this card, it was very, very entertaining. Ilya did exactly what I thought he was going to do. Not surprised by the outcome. Maybe surprised by the first round. Right before we were watching it, we were saying second round live. But yeah, overall, besides that fight, it was a great card. I'm kind of sad. I went 9 for 11 on the card. The only ones being wrong were Royval and Moicano. I still stand on those picks, though. I think Royval was the better fighter, but I mean, obviously that was a fantastic fight. I'm very surprised that Van won that. We can talk about that later. And the robbery with Moicano. But yeah, Taporia, the best in the world. We were both saying that before this fight. Went out there and absolutely destroyed Charles, and he definitely is the best in the world right now. A lot of people are talking about that what if with the potential submission on the ground. He didn't even have anything in there. The TikTok audio edit people were just trying to get something out of that. He had an Achilles grab there. He had the Tyrese Halliburton grab, but overall, Taporia proved he is the best in the world right now. I guess we'll have to see what happens next for him if he goes and fights JDM and then DDP and then Ankalaev and then Justin Tafa.
Oh, yeah, of course. But yeah, with Taporia, I mean, there's a lot of comparisons already with he stole the line about putting some type of balls on Paddy Pimblett's forehead, but a lot of comparisons from Ilia Taporia and prime Conor McGregor. Same
Hmm.
weight class, same double champ status, featherweight to lightweight. A lot of comparisons there. And if you look at the stretch Ilia is on, where you have Volk, Max, Charles, and the way he knocked them out. He could have knocked them all out in round one, honestly. Volk was the hardest fight, and he dominated Volk. It's an incredible run, and who knows what's going to happen next. He's only 28, same age as McGregor was when he won that lightweight belt. So there's a lot of, I'm even hearing welterweight, which is insane for a featherweight to go up to 170 eventually, would be completely insane. But if anyone has the confidence and ego, Ilia Topuria does. And when you look at the fight itself, I mean, I was not surprised. Clearly, Charles gets dropped in every single fight he's in. He has real struggle with depth perception and range management. He walks into shots. Chandler, I mean, every single guy he's fought has been able to knock him down. Ilya just had that power to flatline him on the ground. And I think that's why we saw. Yeah, I love his ego, his confidence before the fight. At the face off, he was telling him he's sorry, he has to do it to him. I think we all knew what was going to happen. I think Ilya especially knew exactly how that was going to go, which it did. But Ilya's shown he has good grappling. He did fine on the ground with Charles. He had a great game plan where Charles did not at all with that early knockout. But the outcome most people expected leads to where we are now. Topuria is the champ. Islam vacated it for welterweight. What is next for Ilya? There's a few names at lightweight. Arman missed weight. UFC 311, still waiting for his turn. Gaethje said he's not fighting unless it's for the belt. Paddy Pimblett was out there. Islam is waiting. Who knows? So what's next for Ilya?
Yeah, at this point, I think it really should be Armin. Armin's the best in this division. They can have Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. I think that would be a good fight. The difference between this fight and the co-main event, Joshua Van beat the number one contender. Then they brought him in the Octagon. In the main event, Ilya was talking about fighting some potential guys, talking about Armin and how his back was hurt. And then Joe Rogan said, "Oh, Paddy Pimblett? Yeah, he's right over there. Let's bring him right in." Dana White was pretty mad about that after the fact because I think there's been some rumors about Paddy versus Gaethje being the co-main event coming up soon, and that does make sense. I think that based on Dana's reaction, because most of the time he's like, "Oh, we don't make fights like that," but he was pretty upset about it. I think that that fight is should happen because they both want a title fight. So if they want to fight, let them fight each other then. Um, because realistically, I mean, when we were looking at their resumes, right, I think Justin Gaethje would, based on his recent wins, deserve it more than Patty, but I think Armin's probably the most deserving as of right now. I mean, Gaethje went out there, he beat Fiziev, got knocked out with a second left against Holloway, obviously, knocked out Poirier, knocked out Fiziev before that as well. So he's been on a pretty decent run. And obviously, Paddy Pimblett, like we said before, I mean, he will get a title opportunity soon, but if you told me December 16th, 2023, after a three-round, I mean, 15 minutes against Tony Ferguson, barely making it out, that Paddy Pimblett would be getting a title fight, I would be very surprised. And then obviously, I know you were very upset July 27th when he submitted your favorite King Green. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty interesting. I think Armin deserves it the most. I know the UFC's upset. We did finally find out the reason that it wasn't his back. It seems like it was that he missed weight. But either way, I think Armin versus Ilya skill wise may arguably be one of, if not the best matchups besides Islam versus Ilya in the whole UFC. Armin is really one of the best guys in the whole UFC. I thought he was going to beat Islam when they were supposed to fight. But he's a very, very good fighter. So hopefully he can come back, and that would be a great fight to see versus Ilya.
Yeah, and when you look at that upper echelon in lightweight, one, Paddy Pimblett is not a part of it yet. I'm sorry, Michael Chandler is just not very good, if we're being honest here. It was a fantastic win by Paddy, made him look a lot better than I even expected, but there's a lot of names left. Obviously, Holloway and Poirier are booked for 318 that we'll get through later, but in my mind, Armin on paper is the guy that deserves it. He beat Oliveira, and Oliveira just fought for the belt. So clearly, Dana does not want Armin fighting for the belt right now. In my mind, if he's gonna miss weight like that, and then he's gonna do all this talking on Twitter, I can't stand it with Armin where he doesn't prove it. He should just fight. If he wins, which he says he's the good enough guy, number one contender, he should be able to win. Boom. Now you're the real. You have the right to fight for the belt against Ilya. That would be a really fun fight. I think Gaethje versus Dan Hooker would still be a fun fight because I know Gaethje is saying, or maybe Ali, manager Ali is saying on his behalf on Twitter, speaking in third person, that he's gonna retire if he doesn't fight for the belt. But if we're being honest here, I mean, he got flatlined by Holloway and then he beat Fiziev coming off that ACL tear. I'm not sure if that's exactly deserving, not that he's unworthy of the belt, but I think Gaethje could do one more fight. I would love to see that Hooker matchup. That would be a banger. Hooker's been dealing with those hand injuries for years now, so I hope he's healthy enough now to fight Gaethje as soon as possible. I think Paddy needs another fight too. I love the beef with Ilya. It's been going for years. Threw a hand sanitizer bottle at him. But I would like to see Paddy get one more fight to prove he's good enough because most people think it, but if Paddy fights Ilya tomorrow, it would most likely be Ilya by KO. Paddy, it's still a huge jump for him. So I think Paddy in a year from now, every few months, he's been a completely different fighter. In a few more months, we could see another huge leap by him. I'm not counting Paddy out against Ilya at all. I think he's very talented, still getting better. But in my mind, you have Ilya. It would have to be Armin because I think Gaethje needs another fight. And at the end of the day, Armin beat Charles. Charles just lost for the belt. So I think Armin's next, and then I want to see Islam versus Ilya. I don't care if it's back at lightweight. I don't care at welterweight. That's the fight, the super fight I'd like to see.
Yeah. I think no matter what they do, there's a lot of guys that kind of need another fight. I don't think Armin really needs another fight because he was right there getting a championship fight before. And I think that I mean, if he's up next, I think that'd be a fantastic fight. And then obviously I think Gaethje versus Patty would be a great fight. The winner of that could obviously get the winner of Posh Boy Armin versus Top Tura for the belt. And like you said before, comparing McGregor to Ilya, I mean, obviously that would be a great fight to watch, Prime Connor versus Ilya right now, but I think Ilya knocks him out in the first round. I think Ilya is going to be what Conor McGregor was before the obvious downfall, like we saw from him, but obviously a great peak as well. But I think Ilya really could be one of the best all time at this pace that he's at. Um, it depends on who he's going to fight though later. I mean, obviously McGregor got tapped out in the second round by Nate Diaz. So will there be a Nate Diaz that comes through and fights Ilya? That could happen. I mean, it could be maybe he moves up all the way to middleweight and Sean Strickland taps out Ilya and ends his run.
That would be wild. But the co-main event was Pantoja versus Kai France. That was also a banger for the belt. Pantoja defends his belt for the fourth time. He looks like unbeatable almost at flyweight, but there's another guy, Joshua Van, we can talk about after. But Pantoja, in my mind, top five pound for pound guy, undebatably. In the era of super fights and guys moving divisions and vacating all the time, I value nothing more than someone staying in the division, sweeping it, defending their belt over and over and over again. And I mean, I don't know about you, but Kai France, I just don't think is very good. I don't think he's a better striker or grappler or fighter than Pantoja. So I was not surprised by that outcome. Pantoja looked dominant as ever. He's already 35. He hasn't been knocked down. He hasn't been submitted in a very long time now. Um, and the fight outcome went exactly as predicted. Kai France is just not that good. One Steve Ursack KO isn't exactly enough to fight or to win the belt, but Pantoja did exactly what was expected. His new shorts, they look pretty nice, I can't lie. But there might be a new challenger. But any thoughts from you on Pantoja versus Kai France?
Yeah, I mean, Pantoja looked great. I had him by decision. I thought Kai Kara France was going to do a little better. I thought maybe he was going to go in there and maybe knock him down once or twice, but he could not go. Once it got to the ground, Pantoja was dominating him. Just like another fight we can talk about later on this card with Peyton Talbot. But both of those guys with fantastic game when they get their other man on the ground. And Pantoja proved, like you said, I mean, top five in pound for pound. And right now, honestly, I think that the pound for pound rankings on the UFC website for the top five are pretty good. Ilya number one, Islam number two, Marab three, DDP four, and Pantoja five. I think all five of those guys deserve to be up there as the top five guys. I think maybe as much as I love DDP, maybe you put Pantoja above him, but I guess also understanding that DDP went out there and finished Izzy, obviously beat Strickland twice, and Pantoja going up. Maybe his wins aren't as exciting. A guy in Kaya Sakura who debuted and he kind of just ran through him. But I think that pound for pound ranking is very good. Other guys obviously on there, non-champions as well, but guys like JDM at 8, I think are good. Magomed at 7. Volk at 6 makes sense based on how much he's done. And I do think Tom Aspinall should definitely be at 9. The least impressive resume out of any of the champions right now with Curtis Blades, Pavlovich, and Masin Tabura. And not really a real champion, hasn't really earned the belt yet, as we know. He was kind of just gifted to it, begging John Jones to come back. Hey, John, I really respect you, mate. But as we know, begging a retired guy to fight, it's kind of sad if you really think about it. So in the end, I mean, that'd be like if Pantoja was like, "Hey, Mighty Mouse, I really want to fight you. Please come fight me." Um, so yeah, but in the end, pound for pound rankings are great. I know you probably agree with me a lot about that. But yeah, that was a great co-main event. I don't think anyone's beating Pantoja right now. One possible guy that could beat him, I guess that we could talk about now, is Joshua Van. He's been on a crazy run. I did not think he was going to be able to go through Royval like that. I had Royval by decision. I thought it was going to be a war like it was, but I just thought Royval. I know we were talking about it during the fight. We thought he was going to go and try to get takedowns like we've seen him do so often. And I still am convinced if these guys fought again and Royval had a coach that like told him what to do. I mean, he has 9 wins by submission, 4 by knockout. Why is he standing there and trying to fight like that the whole time? It makes no sense to me. Um, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. He should have at least tried to grapple or something. A guy with 8 submission wins. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it was a pretty funny look for Royval to sit there before the fight with a neuron brain outcome enhancer, and then he just goes out there and delivers himself brain damage for 20 or 15 straight minutes. But I also had Royval in that fight. Joshua Van is one of the best prospects in all of the UFC. He's only 23, only been training for 5 years in the sport, and he's already the number one contender. He was only a few months away from fighting for the belt at the same age as John Jones or younger. Could have broken that record that many have said is completely unbeatable. But I mean, Van is in the lower weight classes the best boxer, I'd say. There's a lot, I mean, JDM Holloway, but I think for sure at flyweight he is the best boxer. And it's a pure talent, but he did utilize against Royval. He had great oblique kicks to the knees. He bent it backwards at one point. Royval started limping after that, and Van looked so dominant, but also smart on the feet, where he knew he was better at striking than Royval. Royval is one of the most well-rounded, talented gatekeepers. We joke about it, but he is the best gatekeeper. He can never get that belt, but he knocks down and destroy. He was brutalizing Tetsuro Taira, who looked unbeatable before him. He lost that number one contender spot to Joshua Van, but I was incredibly impressed with Van. And it's someone who one fought this month, earlier in June. He's fought multiple times this year, last year. It's incredible how much he wants to fight. He doesn't like the long training camps. So I guess I do respect that. But we've seen him already been flatlined in the UFC. It's happened before, it can happen again. And when you're this active, who knows how that does to your chin and your overall recovery to that. But if it's up to Van, he'd probably want to fight next weekend for that belt. But before this fight, I was thinking Pantoja swept the division. I don't want to see him fight Royval again. And he would 100% fight Merab at bantamweight. But Pantoja said it himself. He wants to defend that belt. And who better than Joshua Van to fight? I think that is the clear fight to book. The 23-year-old Van on this win streak, going up 11 ranking spots, which is, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that before. So that would be an absolute banger. And I will say, I think Pantoja is a very smart fighter. I don't think he's going to do a Royval and stand and bang for 25 straight minutes. Pantoja always risks his belt. He goes out there. He saw it against Kai Kara France. He was swinging instantly right at the start of the fight. He is not afraid to go out there and take damage to deal damage, which is what I love about him. And I think he's going to do the same thing against Van, but he's going to be smart. He's going to mix in the takedown. So I guess I'll give my early prediction that I think Pantoja beats Van, but Van looked like one of the best prospects in all of the UFC and an incredible flyweight contender.
Yeah, like you said, I think Pantoja, we saw it against Kai Kara France, who obviously, known for getting some big wins by knockout. Obviously, his last one before. He was striking with him, but then he would mix in the takedowns and then would take him down. I see that happening exactly the same way against Joshua Van. Maybe he'll stand and bang, but he's not scared to go and try to take him down. Joshua Van 2 wins by submission. So it could be interesting to see what happens um, with that. But I mean, obviously a striker. 11 takedowns attempted in his career so far, 1,931 significant strikes. So definitely a striker there. It'll be interesting to watch. I don't know if that would go 5 rounds. Pantoja has listened to everyone saying that he's boring and has decided to go out and get some finishes recently, which has been exciting. So I think that would be a great fight going forward. And moving back to a division that we were talking about earlier, so talking about another division that we were talking about before, this one may be a potential number one contender fight between Money Moicano and Beneil Dariush. This fight didn't go exactly how I expected. I thought Beneil Dariush would be easy money, but he was not, unfortunately, for this one. Your boy, Beneil Dariush, got the win. Didn't move up in the rankings, still at number 9. But maybe this means that he could fight the winner of Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. Maybe, I don't know. We can talk about who is next for him. Moicano, I just hope he gets a few more fights before he retires. I thought that he was going to finish him after that first round knockdown. He was looking pretty good. And then Beneil decided to do the Mario Bautista method and just run the timeout, unfortunately. But Money Moicano, it's all right. He got his championship opportunity that he so greatly deserved against Islam when Dariush was scared to fight him then. But now, when he fought him, unfortunately, it didn't go his way. So we'll see what happens next. Maybe he'll get another exciting fight. I mean, the last 3 fights against Dariush, Makachev, and BSD are pretty crazy, but I don't know what's next for him. He beat Jalen Turner. He beat BSD. He beat Drew Dober before that. He hadn't lost since March 2025, besides that title fight this year, and now he's 0-2. Maybe you can let me know what you think is next for Dariush. It's like we said before, there's some guys that are like one shot away from getting a title fight, like Paddy Pimblett. Beneil Dariush is also ranked higher than Paddy Pimblett at this moment. Just to point that out for the people that think maybe Paddy Pimblett should get that next title opportunity no matter what. But there's guys like Dan Hooker. I mean, Dustin Poirier is retiring, but if Holloway wins, he's still going to be in the top 5. Justin Gaethje, like, do you want to see Beneil Dariush versus Charles Oliveira?
That's actually the exact fight I was gonna make, to be honest. The first thing I would say is that Oliveira 100% deserves a break. Not only deserves, but needs a break. Uh, he always goes through this tough weight cuts, especially for the belt. That's how he got stripped of the belt. He needs a lot of time off. I'm thinking 2026 at the absolute minimum. And another guy that wouldn't mind that is Beneil Dariush, who's pretty old. Took some damage in this fight, but wasn't insane. But um, I would 100% say if we do remember Dariush's career, he was on an 8 fight win streak. People forget, man. It was really good run in his career, and then he ran into Oliveira and Arman, 2 of the best lightweights who brutalized him in round 1 both fights. So Dariush had quite the resume. Wins over Gamrot, wins over Tony Ferguson. These are very impressive names here. But I think Charles Oliveira early next year, maybe February, March, April next year, Oliveira versus Dariush would be. Oliveira's a great draw. That could be not even a. It could be a co-main, or it could just be on a main card of a fight. And if Dariush, he's getting older. He's 36. So if he wants to be that real contender that I believe he thinks he is, he should take on Oliveira. If he wins that, then you can move up the rankings, have a real convo. But if he loses to Oliveira again, like he did last time, then maybe retirement's the best for him. But going to Renato Money Moicano, I know you really had a lot of faith in him winning. He's been going through this second kind of renaissance in his career off a 4 fight win streak, but I do not have high stock on him at all. Obviously, the Islam fight, he begged Dana for an easy fight, and they gave him Islam Makhachev, which is who he did manage to drop in a few seconds into the fight, if we do remember that. But I'm
Yep.
gonna be honest, looking at the fight, or looking at Moicano's little second push in his career right here, he's already 36 years old. He's I mean, Jalen Turner, if you do remember, Moicano got slumped bad, and Turner thought he was having a aura hype YouTube montage moment and walked
Hmm.
away before finishing Moicano. BSD is just not the guy that we thought he was, but those were 2 of his best wins, and then obviously Islam and now Dariush. I took Dariush against Moicano in both of their fights, and I'm just not happy with where he's going, where this is the last push he has in his career as a ranked lightweight. It's a tough division at the top. There's younger guys like Paddy Pimblett knocking on the door. And it looked like he had zero game plan, where Moicano's more of a grappling based guy. Dariush I mean, he's Dariush is not great at anything in the UFC. He has good, like submission defense, I'd say, takedown defense. He beat guys like Gamrot based off that, but he got dropped by Moicano in this fight. He's been KO'd really bad his last two times out. So I was not impressed by Moicano's game plan. He was just kind of walking into Dariush, just kind of trading, didn't capitalize when he did drop him, and then I think he let Dariush control the fight when it should not have been that way, especially with how much he hurt Dariush earlier. So when we look at Moicano's career now, he's kind of running out of time at the bottom of these rankings. A name I used to really want to see is Paddy Pimblett take on Moicano, but honestly, I think Paddy's above and beyond Moicano now. So if you're gonna Dariush could be fighting Oliveira, I think to move up, and for Moicano, I think maybe a real wrestling test could be someone with Mateus Gamrot. I think he's one of the only top 10 lightweights that aren't currently booked. I think it's not gonna be Gamrot's not gonna try and flatline Moicano early. It would be a good test of Moicano's like actual wrestling and skills, and most importantly, game plan to see if he is a legit contender before it's too late for him in his career. But not impressed by Moicano. Dariush getting older. I think Oliveira would still be a really fun fight though.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of different options to go within this division right now, and we'll see exactly what the UFC does with that going forward. I mean, the lightweight division has been crazy. There's been some crazy things happen. Obviously, Ilya coming up now. There's been some of the legends in the UFC, guys like Conor McGregor, guys like Khabib, guys like Tony Ferguson, all being champions. I mean, there's been some crazy things that have happened throughout the history of the lightweight division, and it's usually the premier division in the UFC. There's always a star, and the UFC just lost their star in Islam, but just got one back in Ilya now. So there's a lot of guys in that division who could be going on a run, and obviously there's always guys below that in that crop of guys that maybe aren't the superstar, but have been around forever with Poirier and Gaethje and Oliveira, all those guys. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. Maybe we'll get a run. Maybe we'll get a Beneil Dariush run. Maybe he could be like Tony Ferguson, and go on that run. Like, I mean, Tony Ferguson almost fought against Khabib 3 or 4 times, and then something always happened. Tripped over a wire once and got hurt. And there was a point in history that maybe Tony Ferguson could have been the greatest lightweight fighter of all time and beat Khabib. And who knows? Maybe we'll go on a run with your boy Beneil Dariush like that at the end of his career. But moving on off of that, the final fights on this main card that we saw next up being Peyton Talbot coming back. He was the underdog in this fight. I had him to win this fight. I thought he was going to win by knockout. A lot of people, hyping up both of these guys, obviously before in Talbot. Now with Lima, a lot of people were very high on him. But Peyton Talbot went in there. He got it done. He did exactly what you expected him to do. 3 rounds, obviously going to decision, and he got him on the ground. He was very good at getting him while he was on the ground, able to get him from all sorts of angles, from behind, from in the front when he was on top, and all those great types of things that you want to do when you have another guy on the ground.
Yeah, Peyton Talbot looked great. Frank Ocean posted some grappling advice for him too. But he did look much improved. I don't know how many times prospects I mean, one guy you could look at is Sean O'Malley, where these uber talented strikers, they seem to be in a flow state against some like bad UFC guys. They get the highlights, they get the huge KOs. Peyton Talbot's striking is so fluid. He keeps his feet heavy on the ground. He has great range management where he can pick apart guys in the first round at range. And then Barcelos dominated him wrestling wise, and it was domination on the ground. Peyton Talbot had no answers for him. And then Felipe Lima, where I'd pick Lima to win this fight. He's a very well-rounded fighter. And against Muhammad Naimov, I believe it was, where he choked him out with a rear naked against one of these Dagestanis who are pretty good at wrestling and grappling, and especially not getting choked out. That was the only guy to ever choke out Naimov, so. I thought for sure Lima was going to come in, choke out Talbot round one or two, and move on as the more hype prospect. But Talbot doing what other guys can't, like what O'Malley can't, learned how to grapple. I don't know if it was with Frank Ocean or without, but he looked absolutely incredible in this fight. And I'm like, I was blown away by the improvements he made, but he looked like a completely different fighter and didn't even show off his striking in
Hmm.
terms of a highlight KO or something. So I'm very impressed by Peyton Talbot, and I think a huge fight is due for him next. Apparently, Lima broke his foot in that fight, so maybe that could have had something to do with it. But Talbot, dominant striker, I think needs a huge fight ahead of him. And matchmaking it's in a tough division where you have guys like Marcus McGee at 13. He might be older, but is a super promising striker. Is fighting Piotr Yan at 3. I'm not sure who signed off on that. It's a banger. I think it's a great matchup. McGee is not very well known, but he's an incredible striker. But that's a guy at the bottom of the rankings fighting someone in the top three of the rankings. It doesn't leave a lot of room in the bantamweight division where Montel Jackson, Vinicius Oliveira, these are young guys that are moving and fighting up the rankings very, very fast. So you could look at, I think Peyton Talbot deserves, if he's not ready for a ranked fight, a top 20 guy for sure in the UFC. Lima, he looked so improved against him that I think he would deserve a ranked fight if it's not going to be against the McGee's or Jacksons or Oliveira. So, I mean, someone like Amin Zahabi would be good, an older guy that I've been bringing up. I think I'm sick of him being in the rankings, and I want the young guys to take him down. But I think Talbot, I think Rob Font's maybe too hard of a hitter, but I think Eamon Zahabi could be someone good for Talbot. I think he's shown that he deserves a real challenge. Someone like Damon Blackshear, or just throwing out there Patchy Mix, who looked terrible. Dana loves to throw the Bellator guys to the wolves. And if Patchy Mix is going to fight like he did last time against Bautista, Peyton Talbot would brutally knock out Patchy Mix. So that would be a great name that Dana could just throw at Talbot, get him on a highlight reel that he beat the big Bellator guy, and then he could move on. But do you think he's ready for a ranked fight?
I think he's one fight away. He called out two guys. He's been calling out Adrian Yanez for pretty much his whole career at this point because he called him out last summer. So pretty much his whole UFC career. And another guy he did call out after the fight, like you said, maybe he wants a big fight, would be Cody Garbrandt. If Cody Garbrandt's going to have one more fight, I mean, you want to talk about a very exciting fight, maybe you give him Cody Garbrandt. Obviously, Cody is, he tried to have that comeback against Barcelos. What was that? A few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago on the Usman card. Um, hasn't obviously panned out in the past few years. A great rise before, but these past few years just hasn't really got too much done. At 33, it seems like he's not going to be fighting too many more times. Um, so that would be an exciting fight. Yanez would be exciting too. I don't think as exciting as Garbrandt just because of the name value, obviously, with a guy like Cody Garbrandt. That would be a fight that both guys unranked, obviously, but still wouldn't be surprised if that would be on a main card. And I don't think, well, people would be upset no matter what, but more people would be less upset if you had Peyton Talbot versus Garbrandt on a main card than Peyton Talbot versus Yanez. But I do think he'll obviously eventually fight Yanez at some point because they've had a long-standing beef. But, he had a great performance. So I think he is one fight away from getting that ranked fight because, like you said, it's just a very interesting division right now at 135. And I'm not sure if there's anyone that he could really fight right now that he um, would succeed against, like a guy in Oliveira at 15. I don't think that would really go too well for him. Maybe if Marcus McGee loses and stays around 14 or 15, that could be it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I do like Giannis and Garbrandt are huge names, great strikers, and definitely on the downturn where I don't think either of them are as good as their name is, where when you think of Giannis or Garbrandt, you think, at least formally, of a good, talented striker. So those would both be great for Peyton Talbot. But speaking of talented fighters, we got UFC 318. We got Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. And the first thing I want to say on this card, by the way, we're skipping over the Lewis Teixeira fight night. That's an embarrassing card, by the way. I'm ashamed by Dana White, but Junior Tafa, your boy, is fighting on that card. But UFC 318, the more important card, it actually might not be. I'm so confused with 318. Poirier versus Holloway is an absolute war. I mean, that's going to be an incredible fight. It's going to have a massive KO. It's going to go viral. And don't the rest of the card is there's like barely even ranked fighters on it. I think the biggest name might be Brendan Allen, which is a little weird. I'm seeing like Ateba Gautier, which is a super talented prospect as the current co-main. We're only like 2 or 3 weeks away. This is the next pay-per-view, and we got Michael Johnson on the main card in 2025. So very confused on 318. I assume they're adding fights, but usually they do this a lot before. So, I mean, if this is the card, this is one of the worst pay-per-views on paper in a long time, let alone from back in the day when they had standards. But Holloway Poirier is guaranteed a banger if nothing else is.
Yeah, I mean, this might be one of the worst pay-per-views that we've ever seen. Right now, I mean, the main event is a fake main event. There's not really a title fight. Max Holloway versus Poirier. I know they wanted to be make it exciting, for Dustin Poirier's last fight, but I mean, you could have made this respectfully, you could have made this a fight night. Or at least put that and then had a title fight, a real title fight, for the main event because the BMF belt really isn't a real thing and Poirier is going to retire no matter what. And then your co-main event is Dan Ige versus Pitbull, a number 12 ranked guy against an unranked guy, or maybe they'll put Paulo Costa versus Kopilov. I mean, this card is just not very good overall right now, and I don't know if it's really going to get any better. They've added some more prelims like Neil Magny versus Gunnar Nelson, Adam Fugit is fighting. Jimmy Crute, like just not really guys that I want to see on a main card or just a pay-per-view at all. Vinicius Oliveira, I'm excited about that. He's a fantastic fighter. Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori. I like that's just a middleweight fight of all time. That's just two guys that really just love to be in the middleweight division. I'm not too excited about that. Daniel Zellhuber, a very, very fun fighter to watch. Probably gonna kill 39-year-old Michael Johnson. Like I really don't know why he accepted that fight. And then Paulo Costa versus Kopilov. I hope this is Costa's last fight. That would be exciting if he retires. And then Danny Ige and Pitbull. Uh, yeah. And then Robert Valentine debuting against Ateba Gautier. So yeah, maybe I missed something else.
No,
Maybe I missed the title fight.
I think you covered it all. Well, the title fight is the non-gimmick, completely serious bout of
Yeah,
Holloway versus Poirier. And another thing that this is obviously one of these guys where the division of like violence, people would call it, where you have Gaethje, Holloway, Poirier all fighting each other. And we've seen these guys, obviously, this is a rematch from a fight from years ago in their career, and then most recently 20.
Holloway's first fight.
Yes, and we saw that Poirier won both of these fights. So why? I'm not really sure why it's like happening. I'm happy Poirier deserves a banger for his retirement. Definitely could have been like a kind of fight night, like Louisiana fight night, BMF. That would be dope. But this is our pay-per-view for July. So it's a little confusing where since Max is not the one retiring, I almost feel like Max is gonna win on like a if it's not a KO by decision, he gets the BMF belt. It's like happy after what happened against Ilya, and
Well,
then
he is the title holder right now.
he is the yes, and he did not vacate it for the Ilya fight. Thank God. If Ilya was the BMF belt, I don't think we would ever see it being used again. So that would be brutal for the most exciting belt in the UFC. But I mean, Gautier versus Valentine are two of the best prospects from TUF and Contender Series. Not sure why they're on the main card right now, I guess. Pitbull is not very good. Paulo Costa, the best thing he could do is cancel himself, just like he does every single card, and take himself off the card. Very confused by this. Yeah, and Vettori versus Allen are two of the most boring fighters in the UFC. I can't stand either of them. But either way, I pray that we get more additions to that card. But I guess before we move on, do you have an official prediction for? I'll just do Holloway Poirier unless you want to give your thoughts on Johnson and Vettori and Brendan Allen.
Yeah, I mean, another thing to remember is that we're getting this is the only we had two pay-per-views this month with Ilya versus what we just saw, Ilya versus Oliveira before that. And then obviously we had UFC 316 at the beginning of the month with Marab versus O'Malley, Pena versus Harrison. And this is the pay-per-view that we're getting in July. And then we're also not getting a pay-per-view in September this year. So that is just something to find out just for the UFC. If you guys want to remember that. Don't forget that you guys this is the card that you're putting out there. I think plot armor wise, I would say that Poirier should win, but I think it makes more I think Max Holloway at this point is probably better. Um if we're doing the MMA math, Holloway knocked out Gaethje, who knocked out Poirier, but they've all fought each other anyway a million times. So I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I don't think it's going to go. I don't think anyone's going to get knocked out. Honestly, that might be a hot take. I do think it would go to decision and be a war. But my early prediction is Holloway. I'd have to watch the embedded episodes and listen to more MMA guru to give you a full prediction.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I kind of had the same thought where I'm not saying they're going to be pulling punches, but I could kind of see a battle here where they're both in the pocket. Holloway's going to aura farm and point down the last 10 seconds. They're going to battle and then they're going to hug each other. Poirier's going to retire and then we're going to move on.
And
Super
CM
happy.
Punk comes out.
CM Punk might come out. He is actually good enough to fight on this main card, but I think we're gonna move on from the Holloway. Right now, I'm leaning towards Holloway by decision or KO. I kind of like that decision pick where they're both kind of swinging in a battle. They don't want to.
Yeah.
Poirier doesn't want to get flatlined in his retirement fight, and then they're gonna move on. But the important thing is Holloway is the BMF belt holder,
Yeah.
so that's very very important. But that might be a depressing episode when you guys see us next after UFC 318 in July.
Yeah, not a great card, but we'll hopefully be able to give you some highlights from that card. Maybe, you never know. Maybe we'll see something crazy happen. Maybe they'll add another fight. I doubt it, but maybe we'll get Joshua Van fighting on that card. I mean, Kevin Holland is supposed to fight sometime soon, so maybe he could be in that next fight. But I don't know. They're putting him, he's supposed to be coming back at UFC 318, allegedly. Um, it's been kind of rumored. It's either 318 or 319. It would make more sense for 318 in my opinion. So if Kevin Holland gets on that card, he will save the card and save everyone's day.
Yeah, and if you guys are fans of the show, you know we've been keeping Title Watch for Kevin Holland. We
Hmm.
have thousands of pages of notes on it, game planning strategy
Hmm.
that we do relate to Kevin Holland. But let's say he fights 318, he wins, 319, he wins again. Boom, Joshua Van Path. He's back on for the belt. I almost think he could be fighting Islam pretty soon. I don't want to say it, but that
Yeah,
would
I
be a banger
mean,
either way.
get the Money Moicano method down. Easy fights, get the belt.
Exactly. Just don't lose like Moicano did. But
Hmm.
I think we'll wrap it up on that sad, depressing note about 318. Hopefully, it's better by the next time you see us,
Yeah.
which will be after 318 by the end of July. So, thank you guys for watching. You can check out Banning at Next Man Up MMA, and we'll see you guys after Kevin Holland gets a KO win at 318.